The white SUV screeched to a halt, kicking up a cloud of dust that coated the windshield like a shroud. Laura, undeterred, slammed both fists onto the horn, holding it down as if she could blast her way through the world. In the middle of the gravel road stood my bull, Samson, chewing slowly, his dark eyes narrowing as if sizing up her soul. To my astonishment and growing amusement, Samson didn't budge. Instead, he sat, right there on the private ranch trail, like a philosopher refusing to yield. Then, as if summoned by some silent call, 4 other bulls ambled from the pasture, snorting and curious, forming a loose circle around Laura's gleaming vehicle like sentinels guarding a sacred ground. Laura's face was a storm of disbelief and fury, her designer sunglasses slipping as she shrieked out the window, "Move your cows. I'm late for a meeting. This is a road, not a zoo." Her voice cracked with entitlement, and I knew this moment would be etched in my memory forever. She was about to learn that her laminated badge held no sway out here on my great-grandfather's ranch, a century-old haven untouched by her suburban empire. It wasn't supposed to be a morning for drama. I'd been fixing a fence along the northern pasture, walking Samson back to the main field under a crisp dawn sky. The only sounds were gravel crunching under my boots and Samson's occasional grunt. Then Laura roared in, her SUV a gleaming invader in our quiet world. At first, I couldn't make out her face through the tinted window, just a woman in a crisp blazer, pearl earrings glinting, waving her arms like she was directing a parade. When she rolled down the window, she barked about calling the sheriff and trespassing charges. I calmly explained that this was a private ranch road, and she was already on my land. She flashed a badge and declared, "I'm Laura, president of the Crestview Estates Homeowners Association. I have authority here." Samson snorted, and I laughed. Crestview Estates, a shiny new cluster of mini-mansions 3 miles east, had no claim over our land. Laura didn't take kindly to my amusement. She flung open her door, her high heels wobbling on the gravel as she marched toward me, proclaiming, "You're blocking a public road with your animals. I could have you fined." I pointed to the rusted sign reading "Private Ranch Trail No Through Traffic." She glared at it, then at Samson, hissing, "Get that cow out of my way." I shook my head. "That's a bull, ma'am. A proud, peaceful one who doesn't care for loud noises or big egos." Just then, my cousin Jake appeared, phone in hand, recording the showdown. "This is going viral," he whispered, grinning. Laura noticed and screeched, "Stop filming. This is harassment." But Jake just chuckled, "You're on private land, ma'am. You're the trespasser." That's when Laura made her fatal mistake. She stormed back to her car, leaned on the horn again, and Samson responded by turning, backing up, and sitting directly in front of her bumper like he was claiming the spot for a picnic. The other bulls followed, one settling near her rear tires, another flicking its tail against her window. They weren't aggressive, just curious, obedient to Samson's lead, thanks to my training with feed bells and visual cues. Laura, now trapped by a wall of bovine indifference, fell silent, her fingers hovering over her phone, likely debating whether to call the sheriff or a SWAT team. I strolled closer and said, "You can back up and take the long way around, or wait. They'll move when they're ready." She snapped, "You're bullying me with cows." I replied, "They're bulls, and they don't bully. They just sit when they're annoyed." Jake nearly dropped his phone laughing. Laura dialed, announcing, "I'm calling the sheriff." I shrugged. "He's probably at the diner. Want me to send him the video?" She didn't respond, just glared as Samson let out a dramatic grunt, basking in the spotlight. Then, the rumble of engines echoed from the ridge. 2 of Laura's HOA allies appeared, one in a golf cart, another in a sedan with lawn signs likely headed for a property line protest. They crested the hill, saw Laura's SUV encircled by bulls, and froze. One started filming, another waved but kept her distance. Laura screamed, "Help me." No one moved. Her ego had trapped her tighter than any fence. The next morning, a plastic sleeve was zip-tied to my gatepost, containing a letter on Crestview Estates letterhead. Laura had gone home, steeped in self-righteousness, and typed up a demand that I remove my obstructive livestock from the communal roadway, citing non-existent bylaws. I grabbed a red marker, scrawled, "This is a private road, Laura, not your driveway," on the back, and stapled it up. Jake's video was already exploding online, with memes of Samson crowned Lord of the Lane. But Laura wasn't one to retreat. That afternoon, a county inspector named Harold arrived, sent by Laura's complaint about animal cruelty and road obstruction. I showed him the pasture, vet records, and Samson's training bells. He watched Samson sit on command, chuckled, and said, "This bull's better behaved than most people." He'd seen the video and left laughing. Laura escalated. She announced a heritage parade on my road, claiming historical access, and plastered flyers everywhere. The sheriff, tipped off, arrived on parade day as Laura led a golf cart procession, waving like royalty. Behind her, HOA members in matching shirts pushed strollers and carried balloons. The sheriff stopped them, holding up my deed. "This road's private since 1927, he said. Laura tried to drive around him, shouting about community rights, but her parade collapsed, balloons popped, a dog ran off, and a golf cart died. She sulked away, glaring. Days later, Laura's SUV was back. I jogged over to find her yelling at a calf, Teddy, who'd sniffed her bag. She shoved him, and Teddy stumbled, bleeding. Before I could react, Samson charged down, planting himself between Laura and the calf, head lowered. I steadied him and said, "You shoved a calf for sniffing your bag." She stammered, claiming he bit her, but tripped over her tote, landing in a cactus patch. She yelped, limped to her car, and threatened to sue for animal aggression. I offered to email her the footage from my 4 cameras. She sped off. Then came the lawsuit. Laura's lawyer filed for weaponization of livestock and emotional distress, demanding $75,000 and the bull's removal. My lawyer, Sarah, smirked at the papers, calling it a self-inflicted wound. In court, we played the viral video, property maps, and footage of Laura's nighttime trespassing attempt to install a gate. Her lawyer floundered, and Laura's social media rants calling the bull's lazy meat sealed her fate. The judge dismissed her claims, approved our countersuit for harassment and trespassing, and ordered her to pay legal fees and a public apology. Laura stormed out, passing a cardboard cutout of Samson wearing a crown, snapped by a reporter for the headline "Bull Wins." Samson became a legend. Tourists visited, kids waved signs, and a children's book, Samson the Sitting Bull, taught respect for animals. I mounted a sign, "Where bulls sit, peace wins." Laura's house went up for sale, her HOA roll was revoked, and she vanished. New neighbors, a quiet couple, brought bread and laughed when their toddler called Samson a big puppy. As I removed Laura's last faded sign, the wind whispered through the grass, and Samson bellowed into the sunrise. Laura had come honking, thinking noise could move mountains. But patience, stillness, and one stubborn bull proved her wrong. The land held firm, and peace, as always, won.